The newest challenge to America's auto industry is coming from China. The number of Chinese auto exports jumped by more than 50% over the last 2 years.
Why did EVs suddenly get cheaper this year? We have come across sources stating, would you like to buy an $8,000 EV, $10,000 truck? But why is this even happening? Well, with more electric car factories popping up in China, the ones that used to make gas cars are now making fewer cars overall. They've got extra electric cars they need to sell off. Some of these car factories in China are shutting down or not making as many cars as they used to. Last year alone, China made 17.7 million gas cars, which is a huge drop from 2017. Bill Russo, the founder of a car consulting company, says that because gas car sales are tanking, almost half of the industry's production capacity is just sitting there idle. Some of the other factories might switch over to making electric or hybrid cars, but others might stop making cars altogether, becoming what we call zombie factories. Bill Russo mentioned that Chinese car companies have a tough choice. Either stop making cars at these factories or make some cars and send them to places like Russia or Mexico. Kia Motors, for example, went from selling almost 1.8 million cars in China in 2016 to just 310,000 cars last year. Reports from a Chinese financial news outlet called EI showed out that out of 6 car companies working with both Chinese and foreign partners, only 5 are using more than half of their factories. Some brands like Dongfeng, Puja, Citroen, Chang, and GAC Mitsubishi Ueda Kia were operating at less than 10% of their factory's capacity. This big drop in car sales means there are a lot of factories sitting around doing nothing. Over the last 5 years, the car factories made about 23 million cars every year, including ones they sent overseas, but experts think this year they might sell about 26.5 million cars in China, which is just a bit more than last year. Even though it's a small increase, it's not much compared to the factory's ability to make 55 million cars every year. Some experts say that in the next 10 years, many car factories might close down, stop making cars for a while, or join with other companies. Experts also say that in 2024, car companies from Japan, Korea, and America might have too many factories and not enough cars to build. Right now, Japanese and Korean car companies are already using a lot less of their factories than ever before. Beijing Hyundai and Kia together can make nearly 2 million cars in China, but this year they're expected to produce only 330,000, which is less than 20% of their capacity. Similarly, Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, the big Japanese brands, are estimated to make about 3.2 million cars in China in 2024. Meanwhile, American brands like Ford and GM are facing challenges in the Chinese market. Their sales have been dropping for several years. The problem of having too many factories has also affected the new energy vehicle sector. With fierce competition, many new energy vehicle companies are facing bankruptcy. Companies like WM Motor, Aiwei, Innovate, Bang, and Eviger all went bankrupt. Despite having a combined capacity to make about 720,000 cars annually, they only produce less than 10,000 cars. These unused new energy vehicle factories might either close down or be converted for other uses. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the underuse of capacity in the new energy vehicle industry. Data from the Gazu Automotive Research Institute shows that in 2023, the overall usage of capacity for new energy passenger vehicles in China was only about 47.5%. Places like Harbin and Heilongjiang Province, big brands like Ji Wuling and Chang reduced their prices by 10,000 to 30,000 yuan. This not only forced discounts on gas cars to clear out inventory, but also hit used car dealers hard. In China's electric vehicle market, at least 75 car brands have disappeared in the past 3 years, and it's estimated that another 60 to 70% will be gone by 2025. The Association of Automobile Manufacturers found that from January to November 2023, the profit margin for the car manufacturing industry dropped to 5%, down 7 percentage points from the same period in 2022. Automotive analyst Woe noted that car manufacturers are cutting prices at a frantic pace, prioritizing lower prices over profits and long-term growth. Only after this rush of price cuts settles down will the surviving companies have a chance to recover. Some car models have issues with contracts. Some operators change contract terms or break contracts, which is unfair to consumers. Some car makers pay big bucks to celebrities who haven't tried out the product, tricking consumers and breaking business ethics. China has made nearly 10 million new energy vehicles, making up over 35% of all cars, but the industry is losing a lot of money. Not only are the big car makers lowering prices to sell cars, but there are even reports of factories stopping production. The auto project was a big deal for the local government, but sales haven't been great in February 2024. They only delivered 6,000 new cars, which is almost 40% less than last year. Another electric car company, Hi-Fi, stopped production for 6 months starting February 18th. Hi-Fi sales have been pretty disappointing. For example, in August and September 2023, their Hi-Fi Y model only sold 1,021 and 1,556 units, respectively. In comparison, similar cars from competitors like Li Auto L7 and L8 were selling tens of thousands of units each month. In December of the previous year, Hyundai Motors sold its factory in Chongqing for about 1.6 billion yen. Initially, they wanted to sell it for 3.7 billion yen back in August. There are a few reasons for this decline, like the competition from Chinese car brands, those brands getting government help, and political tensions. The Hyundai Motor Group's recently sold its Chongqing factory as part of the bigger plan to focus on more places like India and Indonesia instead of the shaky Chinese market. They're downsizing their manufacturing in China. Now, the once busy Quos automobile factory in Hsinchu has stopped making cars, and there are even rows of unsold cars just sitting around. It's like a ghost town for cars. Quos Automobile started back in 2011 with a diverse team from 23 countries, including folks who worked at big car companies like Volkswagen, GM, and BMW, but things haven't been going well for them lately. Their sales took a massive nosedive in 2019, dropping by a whopping 63.4% compared to the year before. Even when they introduced their new Coral 7 model in 2020, it didn't help much. Then in 2021, their sales dipped even further, reaching just 5,200 units, which is less than 450 cars a month. By 2022, their sales were so low that they were barely hitting double digits each month. A lot of their stores had to shut down, putting the whole brand in a tough spot. In July 2021, things looked grim with just 1,927 cars made in the first half of the year. Out of these, there were no Core 3Es, only 15 Coral 5S, and a whopping 1,900 Coral 7s. The car market in China has been super competitive lately, and that's been tough on the big car makers. In 2023, GM sold about 2.1 million cars, but that's almost 9% less than the year before. With too many cars being made and not enough people buying them in China, they've just been sending a bunch of cheaper cars overseas. Especially the new energy cars have taken a hit. The Financial Times mentioned that since China joined the WT in 2001, they've been doing pretty well in selling cheap stuff abroad, but now, with the housing market not doing so great, people not spending as much, and the currency losing value, the prices of Chinese goods sold overseas are dropping fast, as they did in 2008. The Chinese government gave a whopping $57 billion in subsidies for electric and hybrid cars. This move helped China become the top electric car maker globally, even beating Japan in exporting cars. With too many cars and not enough buyers, these factories aren't working at full capacity, which is a waste of resources, and these zombie factories are hurting local economies by cutting tax revenues and scaring off investment opportunities. Do share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before you go. We'll meet you in the next one.